Hey, Mark, are you rebellious?
Mildly.
Do you ever rebel? What do you do that's rebellious?
Sometimes I don't do what I'm told, or maybe quite often. Also, I think when I'm teaching horsemanship, I sort of tend to do the opposite of what a lot of people have learned, which I don't know if that's rebellious or just finding
Going against
another
the
way. But
grain.
yeah, I suppose over the years I have broken the rules a few times and that sort of thing. But I wouldn't say I'm a rebel and I'm a rebellious.
I'm sure there are people around you that might question that. But anyway, this week, I'm going to ask you a little bit about horses and if they are rebellious, as well as some other theoretical and why questions. So keep listening for what's going to be a really interesting podcast. Hello, welcome to Mark Langley's Horsemanship Podcast, a podcast helping people to understand their horses better, to provide solutions in a calm, connected way. I'm Jenny Langley.
And I'm Mark Langley.
First, Mark, we're going to start with a question from Rachel, who is from Australia. She's got a camp draft gelding who's 6 years old, who's been very kind to her, but she said was a little bit dull to the reins and the leg when she first got him. She's been working on this over the last few months, especially his stop and backing up and being responsive to the leg. They've made really good progress until they go back camp drafting. So when he starts to chase a beast, he will go back to running through her hands, even though in the arena at home, he's much better than before. Can you please explain why he's doing this?
The answer's why is not probably a few answers. Maybe when he drafts, he is quite frightened. Maybe there's something at a draft, though he might be working cattle, could be quite fearful and starting to tap out. So there could be that slight bolt response in him around and on cattle. That could be happening. And when he gets to full speed and full intensity, it's just enough of an overload to block out the pressure and run through it. So if he was dull to the legs and dull to the reins, the chances are, like my saying is always this, and this is my gut feel with him is, and I've felt so many horses like that, is a horse that won't go won't stop. Okay, so that's just a saying. I say that to everybody. I've had pony club kids where they've had dull horses that they say put spurs on, hit it with a stick, make that horse go. It's just lazy, and that same horse can bolt when it freaks out back to the other horses. So basically a hard thought's a hard thought, or so what you block out is at a standstill, you'll definitely block out at a gallop. Okay, so you've made better progress at home. You got the horse softer, but I have a feeling your horse is still dull and it's still shutting out certain things. So you're probably not at home yet in the right mindset where the horse is really open and processing and letting go of thoughts. So what I mean by letting go of thoughts is every time you pick up a rein, the horse thinks into the rein, it's searching, it's processing, it's one with its environment, but also it's also in tune to you and having that conversation with the environment and with you. Another thing, watch your horse closely. I've had horses that have been a bit nervous of their riders and they focus on their riders and they don't have strong forward thoughts, and they're not really processing their environment. And if it's one of these horses, what happens, they can be still a bit, they don't have good forward because they can be a bit reserved, and as I say, their thoughts are on us, so they're not going forward with their thoughts, they're just moving off of pressure all the time. So every time you stop the pressure, they stop. Those horses, if you suddenly overwhelm them and get them out and they start to think forward, next minute they're thinking forward at a gallop, they've got cattle, then all of a sudden they run off and they'll run through the reins. So the other thing you got to watch for when you're riding is your horse thinking forward? So is it looking, processing, sniffing the air, just in normal environments without cattle, just around the yards, the paddock, whatever? Is it constantly going forward with its thoughts, coming back to you, thinking left when you go left, thinking right when you go right, and constantly, as I said, engaging with you and the environment as it goes and processing? If it's not, it's stuck on you a fair bit and it's just sort of obedient but not really thoughtful about everything, then I would most definitely go back to some very basic riding, which is more like a one-range start. We just sit on the horse quietly, don't offer it any sort of support in the sense of I'm going to carry you everywhere. Sit on it and just keep doing one-range starts until the horse starts to go, well, I'm going to have to move. And then just let it go where it wants and wait till you've got perpetual motion and just leave it go. Just recently at the Queensland clinic that I've just finished, there was a buckskin horse really shut down. He was going to be a polo cross horse. He was too slow for polo cross. They were going to do polo cross with him. He was too slow for them too. Everyone's just said more spurs, kick him, but he's just dulled out to everything. So we did a series of long reining. Long reining really opened him up because it really just unlocked him in the reins, and then he started to search. But then also, I did it for a while, and I showed the owner how to do a one rein start, and then I showed them a one rein start, and then all of a sudden he started to follow the reins, and then he started to search, and then he went around and checked out the whole arena and everything like that. So by the end of the clinic, he was open and searching, but you could tell from the years of push, you had to be very careful that you didn't push him too hard, because he just kind of go back in his shell again and go, I know what you're going to do. So, I believe that your horse also needs maybe that experience of just opening up again and just being a horse and processing, and then working on your softness again. And then once you've got softness and the horse is exploring at slower speeds and it's backing up nice off the reins, it's doing its turns, then you have to speed it up. And then you have to get to a point before you take it to competitions that you can actually get that horse to full gallop, and it's actually thinking about its environment, it's going forwards. And then when you pick up on the reins, it starts to come back, think about you, and, come back into the reins, how you'd like it to. So basically, you have to test them at full speed, because some horses, they're kind of reserved, and then all of a sudden they uncork and get a forward thought, and the next minute you lose them. And they're the horses you've got to tend to push a bit. And that's what I say. You said the horse was dull to start with, and it's getting softer, but I have a feeling it's still a bit corked when you ride it. It's just an expression I have. And when you uncork a champagne bottle, it goes, and all that, if you shake it enough, it all comes out. And that's why I use the expression horse, that, when I see someone that their horse looks corked, it usually looks a bit reserved, and it's not really moving and expressing itself as it moves. It's just kind of going along, but it looks a bit reserved. So, and just about every one of those horses will uncork once they're under a certain amount of pressure, and that's when they just snap and you lose them. So you might have to start slow, like I talked about the buckskin horse, and get it to unlock itself really well. And then over time, you have to get it to a point where it can do it at speed, and you can interrupt it faster in the turns, in the stops and everything like that. And then you might just start to take it on cattle somewhere not at a draft environment and just test it out again, even put it on the mechanical cow, start to speed things up a little bit. But I think, and also the other thing, if you can, those horses are good to test on trail rides, like and on trail rides where you take them away from other horses, bring them back, different environments, it will always stimulate that worry in them, and you'll find out if they start to uncork a little bit, and then you kind of know what you got before you take them back to a draft and compete.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question, which is also a little bit about opening a horse up, I think. It comes from Sarah, who is from my home county in the UK. And she is asking about her 16-year-old Cleveland Bay mare, who she's had for just over a year, who seems quite shut out. Her eyes can glaze over. She can become quite unresponsive. She can be very braced in her body. Her default is to say no and plant her feet, which could have been why she sort of was sold and moved on from previous owners. She does have a spur scar on one side, and she's head shy. So others have described her as dull and stubborn, not words that Sarah uses. She started to use your concepts and has found that she will turn away from pressure, but she has very little appetite for exploring. So things like trail riding out, getting her to the arena, have all been a little bit difficult for her. She just doesn't have a lot of energy or interest or curiosity. So Sarah has done all sorts of things with her to sort of try and pique her curiosity, things like putting herbs around the arena so she can go and smell them, which I think is lovely. Apparently English mustard is her absolute favourite. But anyway, she'd like to know if you've got any tips, Mark, to help her stop internalizing and instead think into the current and search.
Yeah, quite creative thinking, putting the herbs and different smells out for your horse. Because the one thing, when a horse opens up at clinics, you'll see horses that are either really zoned out, shut down, whatever, when they open up, they'll go down and they'll sniff the ground. And some people say, oh, they're relaxing, so they're stretching. And I say, well, no, they're drawing in air, not air to breathe, but air to smell. So most horses that open up will start to use their sense of smell, because it seems to be when they're kind of really fixated, shut out, shut down, that then they stop smelling their environment and they kind of close off. So when they do open up, a lot of them will go to ground. They'll go and smell where a horse is just weed, or they'll smell some manure, and then they'll go and smell everything around the arena. So it's quite creative. You're using smells to try and draw your horse out, because it can be a way of bringing them out. But unfortunately, the horse wasn't closed down by aromatherapy. It was closed down by pressure. And though aromatherapy might open it up, in some areas pressure will close it down again, because it's like a trigger, pressure that I don't understand, too much white noise, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to shut down and go into my shell. So, and that's the thing with the shutdown horses and stuff. Some people will go a very slow approach where they listen to their horses very carefully from a distance and communicate that they know that the horse can, like they're communicating to their horse that they're listening to their horse from a distance. And you can make some ground doing that, because it's actually people just walking up and putting themselves on the horse and giving the horse no opportunity to sort of say yay or nay that the horses can close down over time. But then it's all the other pressure that comes with the training that also closes them down, plus all the environmental pressure that they didn't have, that was too overwhelming. They were overfaced. They were run through too many supermarkets when they were still kind of worried about things, and they just sort of, every time they go to a supermarket, they kind of put the blinkers on. If you can understand that, I know horses don't go to supermarkets, but I'm trying to using a bit of a humanizing it a little bit, because they just get overwhelmed, and then some horses get tunnel vision, some just go into their shell and don't search, don't try. And by the sounds of yours just goes into its shell and doesn't search, where the opposite would be the horse that just marches with tunnel vision past everything, and it's got lots of energy, but then you can't bring it back. Okay, usually what I do with those horses, if I'm at a clinic, I will somehow trigger a need to do something. And sometimes that thing will be anxiety to seek safety. Doesn't mean I chase them around or do anything like that. I don't want everyone to go out and kind of scare their horses, because that's any internet clinician's going to be a little bit scared of putting stuff on the internet, because you don't want people to do it in the wrong context and stuff like that. What brings out, we want curiosity, so the aromatherapy with all the different herbs and stuff is going to bring out a bit of curiosity, and the horse is going to go, oh, I like these things. But it's what the horse doesn't like that's causing it to close up. So we have to create a stimulant that the horse goes, I'm concerned and I'm not sure about that. And then they'll blink and they'll look around and think and go, what should I do? And then that's when you offer them a solution. And that solution could be just leading or something like that. So sometimes we close down horses. Like the other day, I rolled a mounting block along, and the mounting block tipped into the horse's leg, because the horse was just shutting out. And I was just seeing if the horse would notice things around it. And I was doing a few random things, like I might bang my flag on a rail or do something the horse didn't expect, and it'll spook a little bit and snort. And then it goes, oh, maybe I've got to be more aware in this environment, because this environment is slightly unsafe. And when the horse feels a little unsafe, they're going to go, well, I can't just close down, because I don't know what's lurking around the corner. And then when they're in that state of mind, they start to get their caution. And then their caution starts to be a little bit of curiosity. Okay, I'm cautiously going to look for an option here. And this is where we might, as I said before, lead them, do something with them to say, why don't you come over here instead, and we'll stand here. And it opens up them for the possibility of seeking some help, some guidance from us. And instead of us hammering them with pressure, because what the end result with a shutdown horse is, you take a shutdown horse into a new environment, it gets a train goes past, the shutdown horse explodes, goes, I didn't see that coming, I don't know what to do, because they've been so shut down, they haven't been searching and solving problems. So to help them deal with negative stimulant, you have to create a little problem and then get them to solve it. So I might wake them up in certain ways that make them go, oh, I'm worried, I need to do something. And then we help them do something. I can't really tell you exactly how to do it, because some horses, I do it in different ways, because some of them are so shut down, people have trouble opening up their own horses and they need my help for it. and I'll probe and try different things, and then all of a sudden I'll find access. And I talk about it like a hacker. I said, I'm just a computer hacker. I said, you've got the CIA computer system. I said, I'll find access. All I need is access. Once I'm in, I can hack the horse, and I can change outcomes and soften it. But sometimes, one day access into a horse, I might bang a flag on a rail. It'll go, whoa, what was that? Then all of a sudden it's blinking and thinking. And then I go, now I've got access. I can help you. Another horse, I might put a belly rope on it because it was so kind of shut down from saddles all the time. And I create a life on its rib cage that it wasn't used to. And then it wakes up and goes, I don't know what to do. And then I go, well, I've got access now. I can help you. It could be just one stimulant that creates the horse to go, oh, I need a little bit of help, that you can help them with. So, something I would advise is looking through the videos of the shutdown horses and the different things I might do with those horses. There'll be one horse in one of those videos that might represent a similar horse to your horse that you might be able to do the same thing. Otherwise, I'd sometimes get some personal help where I watch your horse and go, okay, I think with this horse, you may need to do this. And another simple thing, which I think we sometimes often forget, is awareness. Like, people think, my horse is shut down, I really want it to open up, so I just want to be friends with it, and I want to, because maybe the connection it has with people is really bad, so maybe having a connection with me will help it soften. But sometimes I've got a shut down horse, and the horse just kind of walks in, bumps into me, or does something, and then I'll say, hey, that's my space, and I'll pop the flag really quickly, and the horse goes, where'd that come from? And then I'll say, well, actually, I'd like a 2 metre boundary for the next 3 days. And the horse goes, a 2 metre boundary? I've never really heard of that before. People have always just pushed me when I've got in their way, and they push me when I've been in their space. But no one's ever told me that I have to be responsible for that. So sometimes just creating a boundary that the horse has to be responsible for, not you. They start to go, oh, where's that 2 metres again? Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay. And then they know where to be, and they're starting to think about where they should be, not you putting them where you think they should be. And even that personal space can get some shut down horses to open up, because they're like, I need to make these decisions. It's my responsibility, not their responsibility all the time. And what shuts a lot of horses down is micromanaging. And micromanaging is just basically doing everything for the horse and not giving them any responsibility. So, somewhere along the way you can go, well, can I give my horse more responsibility, as in, expect the horse to understand some boundaries and make them clear enough that the horse goes, really, there's a boundary there. Okay. I'm not saying go and beat on your horse. I'm just saying just make them more aware of things. And when you go through a gateway and they usually sort of shove through a bit, stop them at the gate and go, hang on a minute, you've got to go through this gate slowly and cautiously, and just add a few little tasks in there that are they're like problems that they have to solve themselves. And that can really help them. But that comes with being very, I guess you've got to be a bit more creative and thoughtful, everything you do, but that can really help them as well.
Next question is from Jenny from Australia. Is a baby brain a thing? This is in the context of her looking at potential horses to buy, and a lot of people are describing green horses as horses that don't have a lot of experience, but they also have a baby brain.
Baby brain. Immaturity in horses and maturity in horses. Yes, there is. Some horses spend their whole life, even with a herd, looking more immature than other horses. So they tend to have a baby brain longer. And I know this, I never want to sound sexist when it comes to horses, but I said this at the last clinic. If you look at mares and geldings, I'll just say geldings to say, we'll keep colts and all that out of it. We'll just say geldings. There tends to be a lot more mares that settle and become more neutral quicker than the geldings who are always, oh, what are they doing? Oh, what are you doing? Oh, what are you up to? And, that sort of thing. So I tend to find more in the mare side of things, you'll get a lot more settled mares. The only time they're not settled is when they've got high anxiety and doing, whatnot's going on. But you'll get a bit more of the playful kind of brain in the geldings, or the distracted brain from different things that are going on, more so in the geldings. So sometimes you can see like a playful baby brain a little bit longer in the geldings, I think, than you would in the fillies. But when it comes to maturity, I think there's a lot of horses out there that have a lot of anxiety in them, and people haven't focused on mental maturity, and they've sort of trained the horse to be started. They start the horse, they get it doing all this stuff, but they've never actually taught the horse or shown the horse how to get in a centered frame of mind that it can process information well. So then what happens, the more information that they're getting through the education, they start to look immature because they start to get anxious, a bit sort of, frantic, and they sort of like, and then they get distracted all the time. And some people say, that's just an immature horse. And I say, well, actually, I think that's a horse that's struggling to grasp all the information, and give it another year and it'll be cooked, or it'll have tunnel vision, or it'll be shut down. So, there are horses that are a bit more baby-brained, but if you focus on mental maturity in your training and the right mindset, you can actually help create better neuro pathways and create a mindset that's more centered. So you can have a horse that's mature and ready to learn. And then when you're teaching it, you're not kind of constantly interrupting it all the time for sort of gazing out the window, because you've worked on that in the early stages and you were thorough with that, and then you don't have to go back and fix that, because the horse starts to learn how to be when it's in an educational state, or within education and stuff like that, and then life. So and some of those playful horses, like potty rate, like I used, well, Jenny, you spent your gap year in Africa, and something I remember you said to me, you said, you remember seeing a lot of kids that didn't go through puberty because they just turned into adults. They just had so many responsibilities and jobs and chores, and that they just grew into adults. And now we're seeing over here, 25-year-old kids running around that still find it hard to do a day's work or a week's work without chucking a sickie once a week. And I think that's a lot to do. So that's not genetics, that's actually life experience. And I'm seeing it a lot in horses. We see horses that are in a very stable but dynamic mob that have the right kind of elements of what a horse needs to create caution and curiosity. Then you see a horse that's potty raised and it's got a baby brain. If that horse was growing up, same genetic horse was growing up in a proper herd, it wouldn't have a baby brain. Yeah, I'm going on a bit on one small question, but it is quite complex. But I think baby brains, more than 50% of it is environmental, and then there's another part of it which is genetic. But I would say it's more environmental, so we can help them with that, fix it through their environment and also our training.
But it's a red flag if you're looking for a new horse, potentially. It's holes there.
It is a red flag, it's a red flag, and you could either go down one road. Is the horse starting to get a bit frantic and baby brain because of the bad education? Has it just been lack of boundaries? Whatever it is, if I was looking for a horse to buy, that I only had so many hours a week to muck around with a horse and I just want to get on and ride, my suggestion is look for the horse that looks like it's got a calm, centered mind, not the one that's kind of, what is that, pushy and shovey? Oh, what's over there? Because those ones, you have to sometimes put a fair bit of effort into resetting them. And if you've got one that's got that nice calm mind, well, that's the one you'd be going for. But some people, and Jenny, you know your horses enough, and you've seen enough of my stuff to know what a shutdown horse looks like, because versus a one that's open and thoughtful. So if you can see an open, thoughtful, curious horse that's just nice, and versus a bouncy one, you wouldn't go for the bouncy one.
Next question is from Carla from Germany. She would like to know if horses sometimes have off days where they seem lazy or unmotivated or just not in the mood to work, or is it a sign of something deeper like fear, pain, confusion or discomfort? She's just wondering about this one. She sort of tends to believe that horses naturally want to cooperate with us. If they're not, is there a real reason behind it? She'd love to know your thoughts.
An off day is an off day. There's always a reason for an off day. Okay. And I know I humanise things a bit. I know you're not supposed to, but it's a similar context. You can have a run of good days, but there's always a reason why you have an off day. So with horses, same with people, it could be a conflict, a stress, something that's happening at that time. When you take it out of the paddock, there could have been a big conflict, something happened in a herd, whatever. The horse could have a headache, How many people know when their horse has got a headache? That's a hard one, isn't it? Like, the horse doesn't come up and say, my head hurts just here, and can you give me a Panadol? They just have a headache. They might have a stomach ache. They might have, and that's where some people see certain signs in the way they're moving or acting that may be indicating that the horse has got a soreness or a problem in its body. As I say, might have had a bad sleep, anything. So there could be a reason why the horse is off. I believe an off day, there's always a reason, whether it be an emotional or physical reason. An emotional reason is maybe you've had 3 good days of work with your horse, but then the worry cup's starting to fill up. Like at clinics, for instance, like we had just a 6-day clinic in Caboolture, Queensland. There's some horses I've been working with for a bit, and they're kind of shut down horses, and the owners have been really good at trying to open them up. And this is probably the best clinic we've had with them, where we got them out riding, and they're really going kind of best I've seen them, and safe just I've felt on both of them, for a while. And the first day, the little one who was the little kind of shut down horse would be really trained hard, with spurs and lots of bit bending and jabbing, and he felt quite safe riding out because I led his mate. So we went out for a bit of a trail ride, and I took him just to take him out to give him mental exposure because he got so hammered in the past in an arena, and I wanted that to just help him get a bit of interest. The third day the third day he did one of his little kind of meltdown sort of brain freezes, and it's a certain trigger you can know when. Anyway, you know kind of which eye it's going to happen on, but he did it. And I said to the owner, I said, he's in his little pattern now. He knows where his safety is, and he knows this. On his first day when he didn't know where he was open to opportunity. So he was just absorbing everything as it came along, and he was quite happy with my guidance. But when he started to find his safe place, as in each day he had his own little safe place, and that's what happens with him. Once he's got his little safe place, he kind of starts to go, this is my safe place, and, maybe I want to go back there. But then we could fix that. But what I'm saying is he felt good one day. Why was he bad the next day? And all I put it down to was he got into a little routine. And that's what he always got used to in the past. Because horses that are trained badly, they get really addicted to their safe place, like anyone who's got a really bad job, that their home's very safe for them. And that was his routine. And so if you've got a horse in training, maybe there's a day that they were a bit confused, and the stress from that day stayed in them because we didn't help them let go of it. And then the next day, that day, you didn't notice it because most of the ride they felt good, but then the next day they come in a bit off. Well, maybe they're a little bit off from the memory of the last feeling that they had with you. So, off days, as I say, there is always a reason. And if we can make our horses feel good when they're with us, they're healthy, they're happy in their herd, generally you'll have a run of good days. You just feel like most days are good days because it's a consistent good feeling when they're with you. They're sleeping well. They're not getting picked on. They're not at the bottom of the pecking order. Horses at the bottom of the pecking order, people have got to take into account how many bad feelings that they get in the herd. And they're going to have lots of off days because there's so much built-up tension from what's going on in the herd that, you might chance a good day, but then the next day is going to be a bad day. It wasn't your fault. It was just that what's going on over in the herds. But if you can sort of try and make every one of the elements that you're providing to that horse good enough that that horse has a good, healthy life, then an off day would usually be a reason. And sometimes if you're working your horse too much, even though it might be feeling good with you, it's still not as good as just running around with the herd and having that time off just to have that, mental time on its own and doing its own thing. So you have to be, thinking, and off days, they used to call it sourness, but I used to see a lot of horses go sour because every day was a bad day when they were in work. So now that I understand mindset a lot more, even the longer I work horses, they don't have as many, they're not as sour because they feel good when they're with you and in training, they're feeling better, but you still got to be careful that you're not overloading the training, and then they'll start having more off days because of that. But as I say, that's another reason. There's a reason for it. It's too much stimulant.
Next question is from Shez, again from Australia. She's just purchased an off-track thoroughbred who's a bit green, but she shakes her head when she first goes to walk off. Eventually she stops. It's quite keen to go. Obviously a bit of an acceleration or anxiety there, but any explanation for the shaking the head and help that one?
Yeah, well, if it was a chronic head shaking, is physical head shaking. So there are a few head shaking syndromes that I've heard of in horses that they get diagnosed. That's a proper problem, and some of it's light-based and whatnot. But if it's not a neurological head shaking problem, it doesn't sound like it is because it kind of starts and then it goes. So it's a habit that's happened that I think someone's got on the horse, it's been a bit anxious, thoughts are somewhere else. It knows the person's going to grab for the reins, so it already starts predicting that and shaking its head and hunting a little bit. But then when you ride off and you give it a loose rein, it walks along for a while, it settles down. So it's been something around mounting and the first getting on it that the horse has been forward. It's been told to stop, but it's still got a forward thought. The trap of the bridle's there. and it's a habit. I'm gonna push on that. I'm gonna push on that, and they shake their head. So best thing you can do is go back to some nice leading, and on the mounting block, whatever you're going to ride the horse in, just ask it to lead softly around the mounting block, and then with 2 reins, back it up just a few steps on the mounting block, lead it forward, back it up until the horse is just rocking backwards and forwards softly, and it's getting to the feet. So the better the backup you get, and that's away from the mounting block too, in long reins, whatever you want to do, pick up on the reins, get the horse thinking and moving backwards. So every time you pick up on the reins, the horse's thoughts come back, it softens, and it doesn't continue to have that forward thought where it wants to be somewhere else. So once you've fixed that, usually when you pick up the reins or do something in the mounting block, the horse is going to bring its thoughts back, and then you just wait on it. And also waiting at the mounting block until the horse goes, oh, I guess we're not going anywhere. Okay. And it just stands there with its thoughts there. And if its thoughts are there, sit on it. Oh, gee. Oh, I can't remember if I was getting on or I was getting off. I think I was getting off. Maybe I'll get off. Oh, I can't remember if I just got off or I was about to get on. I think I might get on. Oh, that's right. I was going to go for a ride. Oh, where's my phone? I think I forgot my phone. And then after fluffing around for 5 minutes, the horse goes, oh, I guess we're not going anyway. I'll just wait here. And the horse starts to get used to being centered and present with you. And then when you ride off, the horse has to wait for how you're going to ask it to go. So sometimes I might say, oh, let's back away from the mounting block and maybe take a left hand here, or maybe a right hand here, or maybe we might take 1 step forward and 1 step back and then ride off to the right. And ask the horse with a specific question how you would like it to move off, and it responds with the answer that's exactly correct to the question. You know, oh, they asked me to walk very softly and slowly like a cat stalking a bird. Okay, I'll walk like a cat stalking a bird then. And I think it's because people aren't specific, and the horse gets in the future, they're preparing the next thing, they're preparing the grab of the reins. Oh, I'm going to start shaking my head. So yeah, just get the horse more present, more centered, get it really soft in the reins so it's adjusting the horse's thoughts really well. And then, have a bit of short-term memory when you're on the mounting block and fluff around for a while, and then get a horse that wants to wait and look after you, and I'm sure that problem will dissipate.
We have to do the Mark Langley dictionary at some point, including fluff around. That's another one we can add to it.
Isn't fluff around English, or is that Australian? I think it's
I've
English.
I heard that expression. I think it's the Mark Langley expression. All right. The last question for today is from Denise from the States. And this is the question about the horse that, do horses rebel? She has a horse that has been taken to a different stable or, come back from training. Seems to be adjusting really well for the first few weeks or months, but then it reverts back into previous negative behaviours. And she's sort of seen it a few times. It could be in the handling, or it could be sort of in hoof care, something like that. So the responses tend to be a bit reactive to what's being asked of the horse. So it's almost like the horse is saying no to what's happening. So she's wondering if these regressive behaviours are from the inconsistency, perhaps, of the changes of the handling, or is it because the horse just hasn't learned the right response from, what's needed? Is it rebelling?
Well, it's not rebelling, but because I'm one for long-winded answers, I'll tell you 2 stories. One story is from clinic years ago. A lady bought a pony who was a very highly strung. It was like a little Arabian stallion, but very small. He would have been one of those riding ponies. Super pretty, super alert, super personality, but really out there, anxious, lot of go. And sometime through the clinic, she said, do you reckon he'll make it an okay horse for my daughter? And I said, I suppose you could send him to a trainer that shuts him down, so he's so shut down he is obedient. And I don't agree with that. I was giving her a scenario on how this horse would turn into a kid's horse. I would never want a person to do that to a horse, but I see a lot of shut down ponies with kids. And I said, you might have maybe a month or 2 of a shut down pony your kid can ride, but gee, I don't want to be around when he opens up. And when he does open up, he's going to be worse than what he is now, in the sense of how hard he was how difficult it was for them to handle when I met him. And I said, if you want a thinking horse, he's too much horse for your daughter. Too much personality, too much horse, too much to really kind of get him in that right headspace, too much for kid to learn on. So what I'm saying there is, and another example, which I get a lot, is I bought this Western horse. It's a reining horse. It's been to all these shows. I've had it home for 2 weeks. It's finally started to get amongst the herd. It's starting to show funny behaviour. It's starting to get a bit nippy and pushy when I'm around it, and starting to get a bit aggressive. Took it on a trail ride the other day, and now I'm in hospital. And I'm like, well, that would be another example of, so you got the first pony scenario. You send a little pony away that's got a lot of horse. Some trainer shuts it down to be obedient in their barn, where they're too scared to sort of blink an eye or look the wrong way. They come home, they get more open space, more of this. The personality comes back out, but it comes back with a vengeance, because the training that kind of suppressed the horse has made it feel worse. So that's what happens, okay? So, and I hear so many Western horses that suddenly blow up because they were contained in an arena. They were heavily ridden with bridles and spurs to kind of put them in a box, and they were too scared to think, so they just kind of conformed. But when they had room and they had, the people let them express themselves, listen to them a bit more, take them into environments that they weren't used to, and then the boundaries and the tools that kept them in their box were different, then they just lose it and they just unfold. Okay, so I'd say that's what you may be experiencing. Your horse has had some difficulty with training along the way. I could probably, if I saw the horse myself, I could probably name 3 or 4 or 5 things that I said this horse is having trouble with, and we need to educate it in a way to get rid of those red flags. So you have to get rid of those red flags. That's for sure. That's most definite. And when it goes away, the trainer puts some obedience on it, makes it feel like it's obedient. It conforms, puts it back in a box. Then when it comes home, eventually it unravels again. So to keep a horse consistent, you have to be the trainer. You have to be the one that's creating clarity, because like I said about the pony, if you had that pony as a open pony, the daughter would have had to be a very good, clear trainer to be able to create the right boundaries, give the horse confidence, and a whole bunch of things. And it was probably, that was above her pay grade as a kid that's learning how to ride. So you have to be very clear with your horse. You have to have, everything has to be clear, and you have to be the one educating it. Most horses that get educated away come back, the aids are different, the environment's different, a whole bunch of things are different, and they'll unravel. Because they're not a robot that you pre-program. And even the shutdown ones that look like robots that you can ride for a long time shut down, at some point they unravel, or at some point they freeze, or whatever happens, at some point they start to scramble. Okay, so that's why I train horses now, and even if I start a horse, I really want those people to ride with me, understand how I've trained it, understand clarity. So when they take that horse, they're having a clear conversation with that horse. The horse is, going to a home that offers it that clarity and guidance all the way through to keep it soft and keep it improving. Okay, so I'll probably keep going on about that, but I won't go on any more about that. But I think, it's a very common thing that happens.
Yeah. So she said that other horse owners are saying this horse is taking advantage of the situation by rebelling and not following commands. So it's really general consensus or general sort of opinion, isn't it, that the horse is just being disrespectful, not listening, being rebellious. It's kind of not actually realizing what's happening.
No, and that's right. And there are some horses, like the last clinic, there was a little horse, and I was really clear with the owner. It hasn't been started. I said, be very careful with this horse, that you offer it some real clarity. I said, this horse makes very interesting decisions, and it's got very strong thoughts, and it can go from very quiet to narky and angry, and then on another side, it can go to very just suddenly like, I don't know how to cope, I'm just going to throw in the towel. And I said, it's interesting, because I said, this horse, somewhere in its environment as it's growing up, it's necessary ingredients to make it stable. And I said, we have to provide it with those ingredients, not just send it to a trainer, because if you send this horse to a trainer, it's a horse that will come back and very easily unravel, become pushy, angry. So say, for instance, the trainer puts a boundary like, no, you will do not do that. No, don't even come near me. Then the owner's like, with the trainer, the horse is too frightened to make the decision. Say it could be just pushiness, like the horse wants to push in and rub on the trainer. The trainer says no, and then the horse is scared, never goes near the trainer. The owner is like, oh, no, it's okay, you can rub on me and do this. And then all of a sudden the horse is like, well, actually, I was a bit of an aggressive side of, not aggressive, but I was a bit of a nippy, testy horse, and I was kind of testing people. That person made me frightened, put a lot of worry in me. And now you're letting me in and doing this, I'm going to be aggressive to you. And it's because of the bad feeling that happened at the trainer. And then they push boundaries. And if the boundary's not the same, so the boundaries you don't have to be the same boundary as the trainer. You don't have to scare the life out of your horse, but as long as your boundaries are clear, you'll be fine. But some horses, they will. It's like they become defiant because they're like, it's unclear. It's like, what's going on? Like, one day I'm not allowed to push, the next day I am. And then, yeah, all unravels.
It unravels indeed. Okay. And that's why, we're learning from you. So this is good. All right. That's it for this week. You've just done an absolutely mammoth episode there, Mark, on free flow, knowledge just coming out of you. It's quite amazing. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening to all of our listeners. We'll be back next week with an interesting question on eyes and how they are different on each eye.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, everybody.
If you'd like to ask Mark your question and get his insights to help you and your horse, it's easy to join Mark Langley online. Head over to marklangley.com.au and hit join. It's less than a couple of coffees. And the Q&A is just a piece of a whole package designed to support you and your horse with great training.